My husband went on a vacation to test the waters to see if life would be better without me. Now my trust is completely shattered and I won't allow him to see the birth of our baby. I am 6 months pregnant with Maya and my husband's first child. During this pregnancy, I've been very exhausted every day and would usually come home from work and go to bed an hour later. Then I'd wake up at midnight and reheat what Harry had made us for dinner. For context, I've been part of a huge work project that's been going on for months, and I've been extremely overworked. On top of this, my husband doesn't have a job at this moment and isn't looking for one unless I remind him. I've been working overtime to get as much money as I can before maternity leave. Our anniversary was on the 6th of August and I'd asked him if we could have a romantic dinner at home and then snuggle up to watch TV under a warm blanket. I thought it was a wonderful idea since I was too tired to go out and because I knew that Harry was doing most, if not all, of the household chores. However, he seemed a little annoyed when he agreed, but I thought nothing of it. The next morning, Harry seemed quite cold towards me and barely looked me in the eyes. Once I got home from work, he wasn't there, but that was normal since he could have been out with friends or at an interview, so I went to sleep. I woke up at 11 that night to see that I was still alone in the house, so I checked my phone. I had about 8 missed calls from Harry and a long text. I'm summarizing, but the text read, "I understand how tired you are because of this pregnancy and you having to work extra hours most days, but I'm over being ignored every day and having a 5-minute conversation with you every so often. You expect me to do all the housework and plan our boring anniversary alone. I'm really annoyed, so I'm staying at a friend's tonight. Text me when you see this." Of course, I called him and texted him about being sorry and wanting to talk, but I never got an answer. In the morning, I called my boss about having a day off and spent most of it waiting for Harry and planning my apology. However, when he came home, he silently handed me a rose and a card saying that he loved me but needed a few days away from me to figure out what he's going to say/do. Then, those days became a week. This part happened on the 13th, 8 days later. I messaged him every day and he would constantly say that he needed one more day, or just another night at his friend's to figure this all out. But on the 13th, I decided to go to the friend's home he was staying at to confront him. So I drove over, nearly 30 minutes away, and banged on the door so hard that I could hear it echo from inside. By this point, I'd realized that I should have put more effort into our relationship, but he also should have talked to me about this instead of running away. Harry's friend came to the door and was confused but pleased to see me. He seemed a little on edge as I talked to him and he had to break the silence every so often with comments about my pregnancy and how he couldn't wait to meet the baby. Finally, we stopped talking and I practically demanded to see Harry, saying that I wanted to apologize but also explain how childish he was by hiding from me. The thing that I found absolutely hilarious, but actually not at all, was that his friend said that Harry wasn't there and had left for Ireland on the 9th. Ireland. To say I was absolutely beyond furious and extremely confused would be such an understatement. His friend invited me in and sat me down to talk. Turns out that Harry had told his friend of our problems and had come up with a solution of going on a holiday as a couple to sort everything out and learn to love each other again, in Harry's words. So, of course, his friend thought that it was a lovely idea and helped him to book the flight on the evening of the 5th, the first time he had stayed at his friend's house. Since it was a last-minute booking, Harry's friend had stayed up with him for quite a while before they found a flight who was taking a few more passengers due to canceled tickets. His friend then explained how he'd been confused when I arrived at the door but didn't want to say anything about the holiday in case it had ended early due to us arguing. Harry's return ticket is booked for the 20th of August. I am just so angry and quite heartbroken, to be completely honest. I messaged him the moment his friend had finished talking and Harry only responded an hour ago with nothing more than "I had to figure things out. Sorry." So now I'm home alone, again, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do/say when he gets home. Anyway, thanks for reading about how my life is going. Small update, 2 days later, I've had a longer think. I'm not deciding anything until our talk, but I definitely won't be staying in my home with him after this. I can't trust him not to run away again. I'll talk more about this on my actual update, but I've gained some self-respect and realized he's being I talked to my mom and she's happy for me to move in with her on the 21st and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. Update post, 6 days later. I want to start this out by saying that a lot of questions have been answered since Harry came home yesterday evening. The main one is that he did use the second ticket but for his sister. For the last few days, Harry's friend has been living with me and helping me through this. One way was that he scheduled couples and individual counselor for Harry and I. I have also been calling my mom every day since the 13th, and with the one counseling session, Harry's friend, and my mom all giving me the same advice, I scheduled an early maternity leave with a slight bonus to each paycheck because off all my overtime and unpaid help. I officially leave work in 4 days. Back to yesterday. Harry's friend went to pick Harry up and sent me photos of who he was with as reassurance that it was his sister, Tiff. When they arrived, I'd prepared dinner and cleaned the downstairs of our home so that we could have a civilized conversation without hunger or distractions stopping us. Harry looked extremely tired and he seemed to be on the verge of crying the moment I opened the door to them all. I was incredibly patient for the sole reason of being able to get through this discussion in one piece, and so when Harry wouldn't speak, I let Tiff explain why she had gone with him. Tiff is a lovely lady who helped me through the few months before my pregnancy. However, Harry didn't stay in close contact with her and I lost touch when the work project started. Because of this, she had no clue about anything going on until Harry called her and said that he had a spare ticket to Ireland. At first, she was reluctant since she knew that I was pregnant, and so she tried to ask why he would leave and if I was with someone who could care for me. Eventually, Harry snapped and told her the real reason of why he was going away, and so she joined him to make sure that he knew it was wrong, but also to help him through all the emotions that he was feeling. She was the reason that Harry came back to me. If she hadn't have gone with him, then Harry admitted that he might have moved to central London or a small village in the countryside to hide from this. It took everything in me not to cry when she admitted that, and I could clearly see the shame on Harry's face. I'm not going to recite everything word for word, and so I'll quickly clear up some things. 1. Harry did use the backup savings account like I thought to pay for the tickets. 2. The reason that Harry's friend didn't see who the other ticket was for, was because once they had found the tickets, Harry's friend went to bed. 3. Tiff was by Harry's side the entire holiday in Ireland and confirmed without a doubt that this wasn't to find a fling. They spent most of the days in the cheapest hotel room possible in silence before Harry started talking about everything. 4. When we met and married, Harry was a loving, hard-working, job-having man whose only dream was to have a wonderful family, and then retire to one of those cute stone villages in the south of England. After an hour, Harry finally spoke up. Tiff and Harry's friend went into the living room, but I never realized how strange it would feel to be with Harry again. He confessed that he'd stopped loving me a month into my pregnancy. It wasn't to do with the fact that I was sick all the time, dirty as a mole, or wouldn't stop talking about the baby. He just didn't have a reason. Since he couldn't think of why he stopped loving me, he assumed that the love would come back in no time, that maybe it was some delusion caused by the stress of a baby on the way. Over time, that love didn't come back and he started feeling incredibly guilty and alone in it all, which is when he got fired from his job. He told me it was because his work performance was belittled by new management, but it was really because he was too trapped in his feelings to think of anything but how much he still didn't love me. Then, he never tried to get a job, because sitting at home without me, since I had to work more, was much better than sitting at work and possibly getting fired again. He came to love how he had alone time until the moment that he felt alone. That was when he refused to work just so he wouldn't have to see me. He wanted to sit and wait and see how long it would be before I came to him. The trip was to test the waters. It was to see if life would be better without me. He still hasn't decided. In his whole explanation, he kept emphasizing how he didn't love me and said it like I was a child who needed to hear something 1,000 times just to understand it. He never apologized. In a rough way, I was shocked and distraught. If you have a word to describe that awful emotion, then I felt it. I cried. I shouted. I cried again and we sat in silence until I could talk. Then I told him how I could never trust him again. How could I possibly trust him not to walk out on me or the baby? How could I trust him to tell me these things or explain his emotions or to see the story from both sides? How could I possibly work myself dry again for an unloving husband? And so I made the decision for him. We would go to couples counseling, not to be a better couple, but just to understand each other and learn to communicate properly while together and to other people. No matter what, our lives will always involve each other because of the marriage and baby, and so we need to be able to talk. I've moved into my mom's home and I'm free to stay for as long as I need to. My mom is helping me to make the spare room into a nursery and is the most amazing, supportive, incredible mom anybody could be. Tiff and I are going to stay in closer contact, and Harry's ex-friend said that he can be the appointment driver and is going to be my second emergency contact. As for when I'm in labor, my mom will be with me, and Tiff and Harry's ex-friend will be waiting to meet the baby and to stop Harry from even seeing the delivery room. Finally, I made it clear to Harry that we will separate for now but will divorce/remain separated after the baby is born. I will make sure that he is not mentioned on my emergency contacts. He can't be trusted to show up or even where he says he is.